Hello everyone and welcome to another weekly video update. Today we're going to be reviewing our crypto and stock portfolio. So we'll be looking at all the charts we have there, and also we'll begin by talking a little bit about the macroeconomic situation. Now I wanted to start by looking at this chart where of course we can see the total assets at the Fed, and we can see how this has spiked in recent weeks, of course, due to that use of that new facility where banks are tapping into the new facility from the Fed to receive liquidity. And we have gone from about 8.3 trillion to 8.7 trillion, so pretty significant bump. And obviously we can see how quickly we've reversed weeks, even months of that QT program, of that quantitative tightening, in a matter of weeks. Now, of course, there is a lot of debate amongst economists about and analysts about whether this is actually QE or not. The way I see it, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, right? So with that said, let's go into our crypto portfolio. Now, this is where we stand right now, with still plenty of cash, of course, left to deploy. Meta, our largest position, which has appreciated significantly. Yeah, we've got about 10, 15% increase in price. Marathon, of course, also very Marathon, in fact, is our largest position. Okay, and then Coinbase, which of course suffered that fall yesterday. New Holdings, which is down a little bit, and the newly added Block. Okay, so since these have moved the most, let's have a look today at the Square chart to begin with, and then we'll also look at the Coinbase chart. Now, I presented this yesterday in that in-depth Square report, just as, of course, just hours before we got that short report from Hindenburg. Now, I did read through it, gloss over it a little bit. Ultimately, doesn't really change my thesis about Square. Yeah, I mean, predatory lending practices, obviously Square is a company that wants to make money. I wouldn't say that using buy now, pay later is predatory. I wouldn't say that Square, obviously there's an issue with fraud, but like any company, right? I mean, it's not Square's, obviously it's not Square's job to obviously discard all manner of fraud and spend loads of money on that. Anyway, you can read the report. I would love to hear your thoughts. But most importantly, looking at the chart, I did obviously already talk about the idea that basically this is already a completed impulse, and I was looking basically for an A, B, C to finish this correction. Now, with this latest sell-off, it is possible that we could see this C wave happen sooner. Personally, I would love that, because then we could begin our wave 3, much sooner, which could take us well into that sort of almost $1,000 area. But ultimately, we still haven't broken below this level, so still on both options still on the table. Yeah, so we've got that clear A wave down. Now, this could be seen as somewhat of a completed correction, where, for example, we had here the bit of a WXY over here to complete that, and now we're starting that impulse to the downside. Okay, like I said, both options still on the table. I would have thought that this B wave would have gone a bit higher, but ultimately, the next key fib levels now are that we see that 50% retracement at $49, which we already tapped here in the 8 wave almost, and then the 61.8% retracement at $32. Okay, so definitely looking to double down on our position if we do get here sooner rather than later. Okay, with that said, moving on to Coinbase, because Coinbase yesterday fell significantly as well on those reports that basically the SEC was investigating Coinbase mostly for its staking activities. Now, this isn't anything that new, really. We've seen this happen before, and it starts to fit in with a lot of the stuff we're seeing happen now. Like I have been mentioning, that quote unquote crypto conspiracy, where we are getting a lot of limitations, it would seem, to the to accessing Bitcoin. Yeah, we saw some of the major crypto banks close down. I've heard reports now that banks themselves are limiting the kind of the transfers you can make to what they consider to be crypto exchanges. So definitely a crackdown, very significant. Obviously, at a time when the Fed is beginning to perhaps increase liquidity under an already inflationary environment, and also in July, it is planned that the Fed will begin to kind of start to issue that Federal Reserve central bank coin. Yeah, so we'll see. Definitely a very interesting time, and as always, you've got to act now, really. I think because I don't want to think about the worst, but we could be looking at some increased crackdown now. With that said, we are still in range of what would be this current count, where we had that 1-2, okay, and then within that 1-2, we'd now have a 1-2, okay. Now, of course, this was just a huge sell-off, so we would have expected a bit more of a. We would expect to see perhaps a bit more of a structure form here, and maybe tag somewhere a bit lower. So see, we did find support at that key area. It's both the 61.8% retracement, and we can see that it's also on the daily chart where we're getting that 50 and 200 week moving averages coming in. So obviously, very, very strong support. So obviously, if we can rally from here, nothing's changed in that sense. We're still looking for our 3, 4, 5 here to end this wave, for this larger wave 3. And the next target for this wave 3 would be somewhere around that area. Yeah. So if we measure here, so roughly perhaps a bit lower, somewhere around here, yeah, somewhere around 143. But definitely possible to expand this a little bit. So alternatively, maybe if we're looking at a more bearish count, we could say that perhaps this was part of a larger B wave. Personally, I'm not so sure about that, but that would be the alternative, where this was the A, B, C. And then we'd be looking at heading a bit lower in this too, okay? So we look at the Fibonacci levels here, perhaps somewhere around that $46 level. That would definitely be a strong support beneath. Once you have a bit of support here from the trade area, and of course that 61.8% Fibonacci level. But for now, those moving averages are holding, and those are an important level of support. Okay, now moving on from our crypto stock portfolio, we can go to our crypto long-term portfolio, and we can see here not much has changed, but we have added a transaction for Stacks, which is the altcoin that I was talking about the other day. Got the in-depth report on that out on Tuesday, and we were talking, and it's basically a layer 2 protocol for Bitcoin, so a way for Bitcoin to become more efficient. Now, if we look at the chart, I am expecting a more significant pullback in this one, So I would say that this was the completed impulse to the upside. We've got a 1, 2, 3, wave 4 in an ABC, and it's looking to me like this could be the end of 5. Now, it just about touched our target area, which can be obtained, for example, if we look at here, for example, the length of wave 4 and extend that to the 1.618. Now that would have taken us to 1.6, but this is also very, we just tapped the 1.272, which is also acceptable target, very usual target in a good wave for this wave 5. And of course, we're beginning to see that breakdown. So I would actually expect a much more significant breakdown into this area where we'll be looking to add, okay? Now, that's about it with our stock portfolio. Not much else to add there. We still have a little bit of cash left, but ultimately, where we are in the cycle, I think within the next month or two, we could be looking at a long-term bottom, so looking to deploy that And as always, let me know if you have any cool ideas, any coins that you think are worthwhile looking at, and I will be sure to review them. Now, the trade ideas, nothing new in as of late. We still have that open trade on RPL. Now, so currently trading at about $39, yeah, and we entered at just over 32. So up a bit there, and we might have to start considering where we are here now. Overall, I think this still looks pretty conducive to a higher high, but it's a little bit, always a little bit more concerning when you see a lot of the other coins start to break down. You see Bitcoin probably perhaps could be in for a bit of, or should be in for a bit of a pullback, but ultimately this does look like the beginning of an impulse that should take us up here. So I'm going to keep that there. I mean, you could move the stop loss to break even, I would say. And ultimately, if this is a wave 2, then we'd expect a rebound somewhere around, well, we just bounced off that 50%, but we could basically expect a rebound maybe around $35, $36. So if you wanted to put a stop below that, that could probably work well. Not a bad idea to manage the risk. So we'll see where this one goes. Yeah, like I said, a lot of kind of divergence in some of the charts. Yeah, ultimately, I do think that we need a bit of a pullback, but we'll see. Bitcoin can also extend its gains. Now, having said that, let's begin to look at Bitcoin and the other coins on our swing portfolio. Now, we did get that sell at 28,100 on Bitcoin. And let's go ahead and look at the chart. We have Bitcoin currently, I believe, trading around that 28,000. Yeah, 28,000, okay? Trading just at that level. And my analysis is basically hasn't changed much. We are seeing basically signs of exhaustion. I mean, if you remember when we first got to this level and turned around here just at that 24,000. Well, first of all here, and then more here, yeah, just at that $25,000 level. We're seeing very similar. If you look at those structures, they look very similar. Yeah, we get very hard rejection there, and then basically again failing to break above. So to me, it's pretty clear that we should see some sort of a pullback. Also, we've got that divergence in the RSI once again, even on that 3-hour chart. On the 3 and the 4 hour charts, of course, we had that bigger divergence forming on the daily chart. And ultimately, though, the question is whether we retrace all the way back here for that larger wave 2, or if we could perhaps just stop here and then begin the next move up. Yes, so idea being that this would all be part of a extended wave 5, where this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're heading significantly higher now. Just to give you an idea of where that could take us, if that was an extended wave 5, first of all, if we measure, for example, here the wave 1 plus 3, yeah, and we see that we could move up to the, for example, the 1.618 extension. That would be, yeah. So normally you'd think a wave 5 would take you to the 0.618. Obviously, we broke above that. The 1.618 would be the extended target for an extended wave 5. And of course, we can see that also that runs into this key resistance area. We could also try and look at the smaller structure. So if this is only the wave 1 of our impulse, we can head down here and try and more or less predict from that green box roughly, look at the next targets. Yeah, so even a bit more bullish, yeah, where we'd have a 3, 4, 5 taking us again into that 43, perhaps even the 50,000. Yeah, but we'll see. I think that would be quite bullish. I think this key area here around 37, 40,000, obviously big important area. But like I said, so those options are both on the table. And of course, we can't discard the larger ABC for wave 4. Okay, like I said, we really just have to wait and see what this pullback offers us. But we have completed that structure that we've been talking about for quite some time now. So now is definitely a very important time, and honestly more of a time to sit back, perhaps hold on to your Bitcoin and not do anything too rash. Okay. Now that is the Bitcoin chart. Okay. So with that said, let's move on to the Ethereum chart. Okay. So on Ethereum, we have, just add this here. On Ethereum, we are now trading around 1700 here. Actually, did we get that fill on the 18? I believe we didn't quite reach the 1860 level. Yes, so we actually just missed our, we just missed that sell, yeah, on the Ethereum, unfortunately. And even if we go here on the 1 hour, we got rejected just underneath at about 1856. So very close there. Unfortunately, though, we did miss that that chance to shave off some Ethereum for some profits. But never mind, upwards and onwards, yeah. And again, similar count here on Ethereum, where this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on the smaller time frame, we can also see this 5-wave structure here, I would say, which again, I would say is giving us clear signs of exhaustion once again, kind of like Bitcoin, same divergence here forming even on the 4-hour chart. And we did stop just shy of our target, but also notable that on Ethereum, we do have also this larger, well, not exactly the trend line, but well, I guess you could call it the trend line here coming from up here, which actually, if we try and be a bit more precise, depending on how you're looking at this, try and be a bit more precise here, but ultimately, we have just about reached that level, yeah? In fact, just about breaking above that in recent with the recent rally. So now, obviously, that trend line acting as an important level of support. And ultimately, yeah, still expecting as well a pullback into, at the very least. So let's have a look at, if we look at the whole move here, we'd be looking at a pullback perhaps somewhere into this area here. So here, sorry. So that's where we expect a turn, okay? So that is the Ethereum chart. Now let's look at our next one, which would be Cardano, okay? 1780. So if we look at Cardano, we had a sell order at 0.56, very, very far from that. Obviously, the altcoins which have underperformed substantially and kind of far from that level, but ultimately, yeah, we have held that I would say what you could call that 1-2, but honestly not looking terribly impulsive here following that. Yeah, so if this is going higher, it's looking more like a bit of a kind of a diagonal forming here, perhaps even an ABC here for one. Okay, but ultimately, as long as this level holds, we could be looking at targeting that area up here at around 50, 52, 57 cents. Now, we could make an argument that this could be part of a larger correction where we could say, okay, well, this could have been all of A, obviously with an A, B, C within that. Then we could be looking at a B wave here, and then a final C wave, which could take us down into somewhere around here, yeah, somewhere around 27 or even 25 cents. Definitely something to watch out for. And honestly, I will say that as long as we stay underneath this trend line, also we have a lot of pressure to the downside. Now, if we look at the daily chart, okay, now we also saw that divergence from the RSI, and interestingly though, we have managed to just about, we're fighting with these moving averages. Again, these are very important right now. So obviously holding above these, very significant, and breaking below would definitely be a sign of lower lows. So overall, like I said, I'm a bit skeptical on some of these altcoins, which look like they could have a possible 1-2. And this is where I did talk about going long down here. It offered us a good risk reward. Ultimately, I do think right now that it's not looking quite as good for something like Cardano. Okay. Now moving on to the next one, which would be Solana. Okay. So Solana here, similar to Cardano, really. Again, this doesn't look very impulsive to me. So again, I think we have to start to consider that this could go lower. And also, if you look at the fact Solana, much better case for lower, because we can see here that we only went down to the 38.2% retracement, and we expect something a bit deeper for wave 2. Now, could argue that this was a 4 and we're looking at a 5 here, but now ultimately, this to me looks like we're forming a larger wave 2, and this more in line with my general expectation that we should be getting a bit more of a pullback perhaps in the coming weeks, yeah, unless Bitcoin can really extend that wave 5. But even then, I'm looking at Bitcoin selling off. I mean, even on the more bullish scenario, I think we're looking at Bitcoin selling off maybe down to about the $23,000 mark. So if that did happen, we're looking at a 15% shave of the price, then very realistically, you'd be looking at Solana and the altcoins forming perhaps those lower lows, okay? All right, so moving on to Phantom would be our next one, okay? Moving on to Phantom. Let's have a look at the chart now. Now, Phantom, I did put in the category a bit more like Bitcoin, where we had this 1, 2, 3, and this was actually only part of the 4. And the target for our next wave 5 is, of course, that 1.618 extension, somewhere around here, yeah? So between the 1.272 and the 1.618, that would imply us going up almost to $1, possibly. And in the same way, though, we'll look at here. First of all, once again, seeing those signs of exhaustion across the board, yeah, that divergence here on the RSI, and very, very lacking in impulsiveness, yeah, looking much more like a corrective ABC here, and looking like it could turn lower. Now, arguably, we could be looking at perhaps a different count where this was all of the impulse here, perhaps. I don't like it so much because that would need a very small wave 4, something like this, perhaps. And honestly, though, this regard, I mean, if this was a wave 4, I mean, we did really reach the ideal retracement. Obviously, we can't really retrace beyond. We could go down to 25 cents and still technically label that as wave 4, but then we'd be getting very, very close to that wave 1. Ultimately, if this heads lower, I think we'd be looking at more of a larger wave 2. And of course, the ultimate target for that maybe at about 27 or 22 cents, yeah, somewhere around here for Phantom. So definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Again, we're seeing those same signs of exhaustion across the board for all those coins. Now, RUNE. Now looking at RUNE. So RUNE again, basically I'm also looking at the wave 2 retracement, and in this case, yeah, what's concerning is if we did go lower, we would have to really break below perhaps even these levels, yeah, because already in a wave 2 we went down to to the 0.214 extension, and that is ultimately almost the last line of defense. I mean, in not in theoretical terms, but in practical terms, below this really is rarely can reverse, but we could find support here. So again, this could be part of a larger ABC. Again, not looking awfully great from the lows here. If we zoom out, we can see that perhaps we could have the larger structure in play. Let me clear that up a bit. Which similar to Bitcoin, where we had more of an extended ABC here, yeah, instead of the 4 ending here, of an ABC, and perhaps even get a lower low down here. Now, also, you can see that that was ultimately my target for the RUNE, yeah? You can see that we did reverse a little bit in the middle of the fibs. Obviously at 0.80 would have been ideal for a long-term ad. But like I said, that could still be in play. Well, this was a ABC or WXY, and those lower lows could still be in play. I mean, we are not quite close to there. Obviously, would represent quite the sell-off in RUNE. But honestly, I am struggling to see the impulse here. We'll have to see some convincing signs here. We'd have to break above. I mean, already, at the very least, have to break above this moving average over here to try and build some momentum. Okay. Okay, so that is RUNE. Moving on now to Polkadot. Okay. Now Polkadot, similarly to RUNE, had quite a significant retracement over here in the wave 2. Yeah, actually, well, not so much. 61.8, where we hit the 61.8 quite nicely, and from there, yeah, we've rallied not so impulsively yet. I mean, at the most, I think this looks like it could be an ABC for the wave 1. Yeah, so where this is the wave 1, basically as part of a kind of like a diagonal, where we start off with an ABC and then retrace. So the key level to hold would be this here, yeah, around the $5.7 mark. Ultimately, basically, yeah, we're looking at if we can hold that. If Bitcoin is looking for that extended wave 5, then these altcoins can turn higher. If not, yeah, if we to get that significantly deeper retracement in wave 2, then we could, of course, be looking at a lot of these altcoins making new all-time lows, and honestly makes perfect sense. And of course, you know, you can see both RUNE and Polkadot, for example, never quite reached those target areas. So obviously, we're quite happy if we could get down there and gain some more exposure there. But we're still quite far from that. I mean, we have a sell order at 12. We're not going to get there anytime soon. And I'm not adding any buy orders there quite yet, because there's really not much to to add there. We're still stuck in no man's land there. Okay, moving on to Avalanche, AVAX. Again, same structure, yes. So not really anything much different from there. Looking even less impulsive, in my opinion. Same thing there. Same divergence there. We also have, just to add something a bit new. Let's look, for example, at the MACD, for example, maybe on the daily chart to see the larger dynamics of play. We'll see again. Look at that very significant divergence forming here. The MACD, yeah, not really getting a lot of movement there. Very flat. So overall, not looking very impulsive either. And again, yeah, so we have to start considering with a lot of these, I would say, that larger corrections could be in place. Yeah, so for example, looking at this at AVAX here, yeah, where again 650 would honestly have been the ideal retracement there. Just clear this up a bit. So we could be looking at more of an, yeah, that's a larger kind of ABC for that wave 4. You see, we didn't break above this high, but that's not necessary. That's not strictly necessary. So again, we could have been looking at more of an A. I mean, this did look like a bit of an impulse to the downside, but so yeah, more like a WXY perhaps. But ultimately, I think we have some arguments for a downside setup here. So where this is actually the beginning of a 1, 2, yeah, you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, start of a maybe even a much larger setup to the downside. Okay, so we'll see. Definitely a lot of options, a couple options on the table there. I'm going to keep this bullish chart for now, but obviously warning you very strongly that we're basically reaching the level where honestly a reversal is looking very imminent. I mean, we can see here we're trapped between these two moving averages. Of course, if we break below that 16 level, very likely would find those new lower lows. Okay, whereas if we break above that 17, we could definitely get a larger spike upwards. But definitely a lot of downside risk, I would say, at this time. Yeah. But of course, if we are in that bull market as well, yeah, don't want to get off the train too quickly either. So it's important to manage risk accordingly. All right, and finishing off with MATIC and BNB. MATIC, of course, still one of the coins that I'm most bullish on, but we really haven't. And honestly, it's following our expectations perfectly, to the extent that we were looking at that ABC. And honestly, it's looking like it's going to complete quite nicely, where this is, of course, a 1-2 within that 1-2. Yeah, so MATIC not really looking necessarily for those lower lows. But if we're looking for that slightly lower low for this 1-2 inside this 1-2, okay? So not much else to add there. And finishing off with BNB, yeah. So BNB, similar to MATIC, yeah, but honestly looking a little bit less impulsive. I mean, ultimately I was looking for significantly lower lows in BNB, yeah. So we can see here that I mean, this wave 2 has barely reached. I mean, we're here at the 786 extension, and honestly, I would have liked to see significantly lower, but we have to consider both possibilities. Yeah. So on the one hand, we could say that this was all part of a 1-2, and we'd still need the 3 and the 4, the 5. Yeah. So if that was the case, then where this was basically an A, B, C in wave 2, and now we'd be looking at an A, B, and get a very significant C wave down. Yeah, so something like this. Yeah, where this was an A, B, and a C. But again, we still have a bull count alive and well for the moment, or well, there's actually, I mean, I've labeled here as my alternate. Yeah, so in to that extent, the bearish count is still very much preferable, I think, at least on BNB, and very much possible if you think about, I mean, you could definitely get one of those big moves led, by the obviously with the crypto regulation coming down and BNB obviously being part of the Binance exchange. So definitely, I think a lot of more possibility that we could get a big sell-off one of these days, kind of like we saw on Coinbase, and kind of like we've seen happen before with Binance. Okay, but ultimately we are holding strong for the moment. We still have this impulse here, a 1-2, very much still alive and well. And as long as we can try and keep above this this trend line, which we're fighting with now, our next target would be somewhere around here, yeah, somewhere around 485. Okay. This would be based on our Fibonacci levels. Our wave 3 would lead us somewhere around there. Okay. All right, and that's it for today. Not much else to say. I think we've pretty much reviewed everything. We've reviewed most of the charts. Like I said, overall, really just paying attention to what Bitcoin does right now and how we sell off. But I am starting to see, well, continuing to see that exhaustion. Some sort of a pullback is necessary, and if it's a large one, then we could see those new lows on the altcoins. Okay, guys, so definitely stay wary on those. I'm going to leave it at that for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this update, and have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday.